I'm Rob Licuria, Senior Editor at Gold Derby, here with Christina Chong, who plays Laan Noonien Singh. Did I say that correctly? I think I did.
Yes, you did, yeah.
On the latest iteration in the legendary Star Trek franchise, Strange New Worlds. So first of all, Christina, you're currently in production on season 2 in Toronto. How's it going so far?
Oh, is that your subtle way of trying to get information about season 2? So
I thought I'd get you, like, nice and friendly. Let's see what she might be able to reveal.
Oh my gosh, you're gonna get me fired. So season 2, all I can say about it is not very much, but all I can say is if you think season 1 is good, they have literally topped that in every way possible that you can possibly think. So when we came back for season 2, we were like, what? We're going to do what? I'm sorry. Like, literally, we were all like so excited. And it will be very obvious why once you find out. But it's huge. First of its kind.
That is so exciting. The anticipation for Strange New Worlds is relatively high because of what it represents. It's old school, it harks back to a bygone era in the Trek universe. We're all super excited about it. When you signed on to the series, did you fully appreciate, I guess, what it would mean to you personally and professionally to join the ranks of so many actors before you that are part of this universe?
Not at all. No, absolutely not. So and I'm almost grateful that I didn't, because I think it would have been like a huge, I don't think I would have, do you know what? I don't think I'd have gotten the role. If I'd have known how huge it was, I would have been too kind of anxious and nervous about it, or I don't think I'd have gotten the role, because part of why, that whole thing of, right, like when you run after something, it runs away from you, like your dog, right? I got a dog. Oh, did you disappear? No, you didn't.
Oh,
sorry.
You there?
No, I'm right. I just clicked something on my computer. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just emailing while I'm interviewing with you. No, no. When something runs, when you chase something, it goes away from you, right? So when you don't, it's like the dog thing, right? You walk away and your dog follows you. So it was kind of like that relationship with Star Trek, was like, Star Trek, okay, cool. I know what it is. And so I got the role. I was like, okay, cool. All right, I'm going to Toronto 7 days later. And it was only once I once I got my character arc, and it still is an ever evolving thing, like realizing just how big it is. And I'm sure at the premiere this weekend, it's going to be another step. When I go to conventions, it's going to be another step. It's slowly dawning on me how big this thing is and how important it is to so many people around the world.
Yeah, I mean, the series 10 episode first season premieres on the 5th of May, and you're all like in for a treat, I mean, I don't even know what to say, but I think you're going to be maybe really quite surprised about how, obsessed the fan base is, and how much they love this series, and how everything's about to change for you. Are you prepared for, I guess, or excited about how the fans are going to react, and how the critics even are going to react to the show?
I try not to think about the critic side of it, because the main thing for me is that I enjoy what I do. I enjoy day to day, and I do. It's a great cast, it's a great crew, it's great filming in Toronto, apart from when it's cold. And so, especially when you have to film outside in minus 70 degrees, by the way. But so for me, I don't like to think about what the critic's going to think, because actually it's kind of irrelevant. What matters is the fans. Do you know what I mean? Do they like it? Are they enjoying it? And also people who aren't fans, are they coming in? Are they enjoying it? And so who cares what they think, the critics? So I think for me, I'm just happy to be doing this, happy to be a part of it. And anything else is a bonus.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm really looking forward to speaking to you next time when it's become a huge thing, and to see what you thought about the reaction, because I think it's going to be super positive. I really do. It's a real treat. It's a mix of old school Trek and a brilliant, riveting take on that beloved classic. And I found it was really nostalgic, but beautifully done. It's so modern. It's so different. Yeah. So I'm all in. I cannot wait to see the rest of the season. So obviously Star Trek has always been ahead of its time. From what you may know about it, it holds up a mirror to society as analogy or allegory. That's the best thing about Trek. Without giving anything away, the pilot provides us a really interesting insight into what becomes of Earth in the years leading up to first contact and space travel. I find that so interesting. We won't talk about what happens, but it's more just about how Star Trek in this particular iteration doesn't pull any punches. It's a cautionary tale somewhat that confronts some of the division and turmoil that we're living in right now. Like, we're living in some pretty difficult times. I was just wondering if you were blown away at all by how Star Trek is able to do that so effectively.
100%, like, because I had no expectations walking in, right? So then when I was getting these scripts, and even just the fact of realizing, I hadn't thought about it before, how Star Trek has been at the forefront of diversity in its casting. That just didn't occur to me. So I was already on set looking at who, I was acting with and going, oh, wow, okay, amazing. And so when each script came in, especially episode 3 as well, that's super, super like relevant. And, and throughout the whole thing, for me, it was, I was shocked, like surprised in the best way possible that it was so, and just the themes and all of it, that it's just so relevant for today and today's society and where it's going,
Yeah, it really is. Like, to touch on diversity, you're looking at all the other Star Trek shows that are on at the moment or have been in the last few years, and movies and so forth. It's a real testament to the way that the casting directors and the showrunners on each of these shows really pay attention to what the world actually kind of looks like, which is really nice. And not just ethnically, but also sexual orientation and gender and so forth. I found it so refreshing. And I just wonder if... does that ever come up on set when you're all getting together or you're meeting up for the first time? I mean, you just mentioned it earlier that you were a little bit taken aback, but it is really refreshing to see a show that just seems completely colorblind when it comes to casting, or maybe not colorblind, but actually really intentionally making sure that it's inclusive.
No, absolutely. We definitely, like, especially me, Melissa, Celia and Babs especially, it is very much a conversation that we have had many times, where like how amazing it is that we get to have this platform to inspire, especially younger generations. Especially, we didn't have these figures growing up. I didn't have a Chinese, leading lady to look up to, and so, my hope is that the 5-year-old watching or whatever sees it and is like, oh wow, mummy, look, and especially episode 8 as well for the little girls. Like, episode 8 is going to be, I hope, is going to inspire a lot of little girls. So not just little girls, they can, any girl or woman, but like, it's very kind of like, I would have liked to see that when I was 5,
Wow. Okay. So you're just making me even more and more excited about this thing. So, okay. Production on season 1, though, it finished like ages ago. I think like late last year or mid to late last year. So what was your overall highlight, I guess, from experiencing that, that whole world? You've come from the UK, probably on productions that aren't as, massive as this one. I mean, you've done Dominion and other shows like that, but this is like another level. And what was it like when you first arrived? Were you a bit like, out of your depth? Talk us through that feeling.
I wouldn't say I was out of my depth, but I was off kilter because it happened so quickly. I got the role. 7 days later, I was on a plane flying to Toronto, and then I was put directly into quarantine. So I could have been anywhere in quarantine, right? I'm watching TOS, like literally on replay, like studying, and then, Wrath of Khan, all of that.
Yeah.
But I could have been anywhere. So I was kind of like absorbing all this stuff, talking to friends and family about all this Star Trek, what it all meant, and like the words and this and that, and what's warp, what is warp? Because I couldn't understand the script unless I knew what warp speed was, right? Yeah. And phasers, just as simple as phasers, right? I was like, what is a phaser? So for me, it was a lot of like studying, but being in this one room and then it was a gradual thing. Like the first day, a camera test on set, and the first day, the camera test was on the bridge, and I just stepped on, and I remember thinking, whoa, this is way bigger than I ever thought it was or could be.
Yeah.
And looking down and just seeing the light and then Akiva being there, you know, and the creators and the writers being so passionate about it and being fans themselves, right? I was like, seeing that, feeling that made me helped me understand how fortunate I was to be on that set in Toronto, you know?
Yeah. What a great journey for you, and to have it so quickly after getting the role, and now you're in season 2. It's like, yeah, you know, I'm just doing my thing, just doing season 2. I'm also wondering how much of La'an's backstory was explained to you during pre-production, because obviously you need to know who she is to kind of get into her head. How familiar are you now as well with her background and who she is?
Well, I was actually very fortunate that I was given a lot of it. I was surprised at how much I had. I basically had everything I needed so for the episode. And I think they'd really, because she's a new character, they had the freedom to just be able to go, this is her arc. Whereas with the legacy characters, it's a bit harder because you've got to be able to, yes, you've got to end here, but how you get there has got to be very particular. So with Leon, I think they just went, yeah, let's go here and go there, and let's bring this in and bada, bada, bada. So, and I got to play with all the different characters, and so it was pretty much there for me when I arrived. I just had to fill in the blanks, the tiny little blanks, and bring what I do as an actor is bring my personal experience and put that into the role.
Yeah, that's probably what makes it the most interesting. Actually, I want to follow up on that, because normally for anyone that works on Star Trek, I usually ask them about this. It's one of the most important challenges is to maintain a level of awareness of the enormous and sometimes quite cumbersome responsibility to staying true to canon, because the fans will know immediately when something's quite not right, and you know, Alex Kurtzman and Jenny and Akiva, they understand this really well. But it's something that I'm just wondering, you know, you have a new character, but she has some links to, you know, other people in the canon. I'm just wondering, does that come up often on set or at table reads or in pre-production? Like, how does that work? Is it always something that's coming up?
For me personally, not really, because there's an element of I think the things that she kind of inherits from her. Am I allowed to say? I mean,
I don't know. Well, maybe we shouldn't. But I think people are pretty clear. I think they hear the name, they're like, that sounds familiar. I mean,
she's descended from a Noonien Singh. Let's just say
yes, that. There we go.
She's descended from a Noonien Singh. So she has some of those. They wrote some. You know, she's a trained fighter, right? She's you know, trained in all different aspects of martial arts and combat and tacticals and all this stuff. So, and she's you know, she's very resilient, she's stern, she has this kind of guard down. I mean, those things were there already, which kind of you could say were inherited from her, you know, ancestry, let's say. And so everything else was different. Everything else had to be, obviously she's a more humane character. She's a lot more empathy, even though she hides it. And she's very vulnerable. So those things kind of, I added those things, and so that with respect to canon, there's only things like, you know, how you use a phaser, how you use the tricorder, you know, those kind of things which are taught on set, you know, in the moment, that's whatever. But with regards to the character, not for me, but obviously for the other characters, very much so, the legacy characters.
I'm looking forward to seeing more of her vulnerability, because there's so many glimpses of it, particularly in the pilot, which people are going to see pretty much after they watch this interview, I think. She's really tough. She's no nonsense, and even slightly intimidating. And yet there's this real connection between her and Pike pretty instantly. And that chemistry, I hate the use of the word chemistry, it's so cliche, but it's true. The way you and Anson Mount were able to just there's this really great connection that you've both got. And so I'm looking forward to seeing more of that relationship. I just wonder what your thoughts are about how Lon and Pike seem to have a bond, which is obviously based in some kind of reality between how you and Anson work on set.
Yes, with Anson, it was very, very quick. Like I love acting with him. There's just some connection there that we have that is very grounded, you know, in the way that when I look into his eyes, I really see and feel Pike, you know. So, and I think, you know, she's very respectful and looks up to him, you know, even though she doesn't necessarily show it openly, she does very much look up to him. And the fact that Una is his number one, if Una looks up to him, then of course she's going to look up to him, you know. So it was a very natural rapport that I had with Anson, and I think Lon in a similar way, it kind of, you know, life imitating art kind of thing. It was kind of the same in real life, you know, as it was written.
Yeah, absolutely. I also wonder, does it ever become second nature to perform on a set that will be transformed in post-production by VFX and so forth, or with like huge aliens or whatever you might want to call it, that stuff that's going to happen later? I mean, does it ever become second nature, or is it always something that actors have to work on to get right?
I always have to work on it, because for me, again, like I find it hard to just look at a blue screen and like, you know what I mean? I really have to like, you know, like I really have to, we're lucky with the respect to the aliens, they're normally all done. They're all as is, they're not VFX'd. But with the blue screen, I really have to understand what is going on. And a lot of the time it's not that simple. Like when you read the script and maybe you're still shooting another one and you get the next script and then you're like, hang on a minute, how does this work scientifically? Help me understand this thing. So I have to figure it out, understand it, and then I personalize it with my life or something in my life, so that actually what I'm looking at on the blue screen is not actually the galaxy or a ship colliding with another ship or whatever. It's actually something in my personal life that I'm watching on the screen. Right.
And so that's your process, so that it's something, so that we get something genuine out of you and something real. That's fascinating. I just think that would be so difficult. I don't think enough credit is given to actors who are working on genre shows about how challenging that would be. I'm looking forward to seeing more of that. My final question is not Trek related, as promised offline. For all the crazy Line of Duty fans out there, and trust me, I'm one of them. You know what's so cool? Every time I say to someone, go and watch Line of Duty, and they do, like, thank you, Rob, for telling me about this show. It is the best. You played D.I. Nikki Rogerson, and just a simple question. What was the highlight of working on Line of Duty, particularly opposite the amazing Martin Compston as Steve Arnott?
Martin is funny. He's funny as hell. And I worked with him actually on a movie before that called Freak Dog. So that was my first, I knew Martin. And then I turned up on set and he's like, Christina, Martin. And so it was very quick. Like, obviously we already had the chemistry. We already knew each other. And it was especially fun coming back because I had been asked to come back every season, but it just didn't work out. I think I was in Dominion and then So eventually, and Jed, I loved it, and he kept, I felt so bad, I was like, I'm so sorry, I can't, but then eventually he kept asking, and then eventually I could do it, right? And I came back for I can't remember, there's so many seasons of it now, I don't actually remember the number, but I
you were back in season 6.
Yeah, so it was during the pandemic, it was right, we filmed it during the pandemic, and it was so nice to also, that was one of my first, I think that was actually my first time back on set after the pandemic.
Wow.
And so to be with Martin, filming that again, you know, and it was so much fun filming it the second time. But yeah, I was again surprised by Line of Duty. I did it when it wasn't such a huge show. Yeah. Again, similar to Black Mirror, right? I was like, do you want to do this show, Line of Duty? He's like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then, and it's funny because in the read-through, like when I had the read-through for Line of Duty, it doesn't come across, obviously, because you can't, what's the best thing about it is it's so subtle. That's the magic of Line of Duty. And you can't see that in a read-through. So at the read-through, I was like, there wasn't. Oh, okay, that's great writing, but okay. And then I watched it, and everyone's raving about it, and I watched it. I was like, whoa, this is amazing. He's so clever. The way he writes is so clever.
I know. I've begged Jed Furio to make more, but so far he has not listened.
No.
You know, we can only ask for so much, but in the meantime, we have so much to look forward to with Strange New Worlds. I honestly am telling you how it was just so much fun to watch. I cannot wait to devour the rest of the season. Good luck for season 2. I'm sure you're exhausted, but that's okay because it's all worth it in the end. And thank you so much, Christina, for your time today.
Thank you, Robert. Thanks so much. Have a lovely day.